Hello, my friends. This is Karen Watson. Today, I want to talk to you about organizing artwork in Artisan. I plan to show you how I tag my artwork in Artisan to make finding things really quick and easy. The more artwork you have, the more you're going to thank me for this discussion. Trust me. What I love about having things organized the way that I do is that I'm utilizing the artwork that I have fully. I've been using Artisan since it was Storybook Creator, back at its inception. So over the years, between things that I've purchased, things that I've gotten as gifts, things that came with each iteration of the program, and the events that I've been in, we get artwork with the quarterly events from Pixels to Pages. I've accumulated a lot, and it's hard to find things if you're trying to remember I have this specific piece in this specific package, because eventually there's just too many packages and your stuff just sits there and you don't use it. So really what I want you to do is make sure that you're using the investment that you're making in your program. So there's two ways to organize artwork in Artisan. One is categories, and that is how you organize an entire package. So you might just take all of your baby packages and put it under a baby category. Whereas tags, you're tagging every single little piece of artwork. So that's my go-to. Everybody has their favorites. I do use both, but today we're talking about tagging, and honestly, that's my go-to. I find that works the best for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to access your tags while you're working in a project, because I find sometimes if you give me a theory without how am I going to use this, it doesn't click as much. So I want to start with showing you how you're going to use your tags. As you're listening to me talk, start thinking about how you think. How are you going to look for things? What words would you use? Because organization is very, very personal. So my way is not the only way. So watch what I do. Start thinking about how you want to do it. So I'm going to then show you a very simple way of tagging. If that's working for you, lean into it. You can stop the video right there. If you want to get into more of the bells and whistles, instead of having just a one-word tag, if you want to have multiple words, phrases, if you want to learn how to cross-reference things, if you want to get in deeper, keep watching, because I'll show you that afterwards. So if you have a lot of artwork already, just know that this is going to take a little bit of time, but honestly, it's worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. If you're just starting out, it's the best time to get started because it's not going to be as overwhelming. If you have a lot, what I would suggest is take an art package, focus on that, tag all of that. If you have more time, go to the next art package. If you don't, come back. Just come back as you have time. Just chip away at it. Definitely worth your time, but it is going to take you a little bit longer than somebody who's brand new. As you order new artwork, I would encourage you to either tag it right away, that day if possible. If not, try to set some time apart that week to get it done, because it's really easy to get behind. All right, so let's go to my program and let's get started. So I'm starting with this page. This was a page that was one of the bright ideas from Pixels to Pages. And the reason that I wanted to start here is I wanted to show you this cluster here. It's not something that I've been very good at, but I've been working on it. And I think this one came out pretty good. So if something's not in your forte, you struggle with it, just keep practicing. But this is a cluster that represents at least 5 different art packages. If I was focused only on 1 or 2 art packages, that's fine. You can just say, I purchased this one for this particular project, and you just sit there and focus on that art package. But like I said, the more that you have, the more you kind of forget you have. So by tagging, I was able to pull everything up with either tropical or beach, that being my tag, and was able to bring in 5 different packages, probably 3 of which I might not have even touched. So with Pixels to Pages, they ask anything that we put on social media, we cite everything, all the art packages and the artists that we've used. And I think that's really important, because these people are just making brilliant, beautiful artwork for us. and they deserve the credit. And in order to do that, you click on something over here on the elements panel, or you can right click on an individual piece if you want to, but I'll use it on the elements panel, drop down menu and go to properties. And this is how you figure out where you got that specific piece of artwork. So that's how I cite things in my anything that I'm posting with Pixels to Pages is I will go through all of the properties and list everything. And what that's done is it's opened my eyes. It's opened my eyes to see how much I'm cross-referencing all these different things, because I've had a Christmas package where, not a Christmas package, a Christmas page, where the whole thing really is coordinated. It blends together perfectly. You don't know that it came from all different places, but I was really surprised at how many art packages I used on one specific page. For instance, I had a beautiful, just the perfect red background, the texture that I wanted. It came out of a military package. And who would have thought to go to a military package to get the paper for my Christmas page? So that's one of the benefits of tagging that I think has been really eye-opening for me and what's really helpful. Again, I'm using more of it. So let's go to a page. Let me show you how to use tags, and then I'll show you how to create tags. So this is a picture of one of my cats. And typically speaking with them, I would probably start with something to do with cats and then grow from there, unless there's something really specific where I want to go with colors. This one doesn't lend any particular colors, so I'm going to go ahead and start with content and elements. Now, right here, I have clicked this link as all kits just because that's where I wanted to start. So I wanted you to see everything in my library is showing here, which is going to be a lot. I'm going to go to tags. I'm going to open it up with this little arrow, and I'm going to scroll down to pets because I want it's alphabetized automatically. There's nothing you can do about that. But I'm going to go to cats. And this represents probably 3, 4, 5 different art packages. And you can see some's a little bit more whimsical. Some of it's going to be more realistic. Fun stuff like their eyes, food, etc. So I go through it here. You've got actual cats, which I thought was great. This would go really well. Actually, let's go ahead and put this on the page. That looks quite a bit like him without the mustache, actually half his face, but you know, it's still a black and white tuxedo cat. So there's a cat. And I might scroll down a little bit more, and there was something specific. I've got some that has silhouettes. This one is really fun. Let's go with a black cat. I'm going to add this to the page. Here's a cat watching TV. Now these two really don't go together because they're just very, very different styles, but you get the idea. So I'm finding things under here. Now, I only tag things to do with cats in my cat tag. If I wanted to look for something with specific colors, I would look under colors. The other thing to be aware of is everything in this package is going to blend with that package. Everything in this one's going to blend with that one. So again, I will right click on it, properties. This came from Cats Bundle. So maybe I want to open up the Cats Bundle. So now I'm going to scroll up and commercial art kits. I'm going to go down to C for cats. You notice I have cat kit, cat capers, Catitude, Cats Bundle. I think that's what I said I got that from. Is that right? Yes, yes. So I'm going to focus on that specific bundle now. So now I know that any of the paper in that package is going to go really well with any of the embellishments that I choose. And notice there's all this wood. Wood is not specific to cats. So I would want to tag all of my wood papers. The cat food, yeah, that's cats. Green, those are colors. Brown, you know. So I would tag those differently. But again, when I pull in my cat bundle here, I know that everything in the cat bundle is going to match everything else in the cat bundle. So let's go talk about how to actually tag. So I'm going to click on the Welcome tab right there. This is what your program looks like when you first open it up. Go to Manage Content, top left. Your built-in kits, that's anything that came with the program. So that might be textures and basic colors and cutters and frames. Those items, by the way, you're not going to be able to tag. It's just the way that it's set up right now. Commercial art kits is where you're going to spend most of your time. That's anything that you've purchased from forever. If you've been part of Pixels to Pages, you probably have some things that you've learned how to do where you create something and save it as artwork that you're going to be able to use down the road. You might download something from the internet. There's a variety of things that end up in your personal art kits, but generally speaking, commercial art kits are where we're going to spend the majority of our time. This is where your categories are, just as an FYI, and then your tags are here at the bottom. So I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to start with content not tagged. That's a good place to go because those are the things that you know you haven't tagged yet. And again, remember, tags are for individual pieces. Generally speaking, I start with embellishments or papers. And it always starts with, this is alphabetized too, so it starts with my alpha sets. I'll deal with that at a later day. Colors, this is what came with your program. So you can see what I mean. These are just basic colors that you can draw from. If you've worked on Artisan very much, when you go into color palette, you'll recognize a lot of these. Corners, this probably came with the program. I'm not sure. But this I recognize I got from Pixels to Pages. I have not been tagging my corners and my edges as much as I should. It's been one of those things that I've been meaning to get to, but I just kind of had to think through how I wanted to do it. But embellishments, I know that I just downloaded a package here. Here we go. There it is, where it's a lot of red flowers. I just love the color red. It's not my favorite color in the world. Honestly, blue is, sapphire blue. I like purple a lot, but I wear red a lot. And Larry gives me red flowers, roses every now and again. So I generally seem to be looking for red. So I'm going to start there. What I recommend is you want to start with a specific package and tag everything in there. So what I'll do is I will double click on that. That opens up that specific piece. And just as an FYI, there's a zoom button right here. So if you're trying to see what's in here, like say this was a 12 by 12 piece of paper, you might have difficulty figuring out what that little thing is down there. Is it diamonds? Is it circles? What is it? So this comes in handy. If I had this tagged, all my tags would be listed right here. So I can see the name of the package, I can see my activation code, but what I want to do is I want to select the parent art kit. So if you notice, I no longer have my tags over here on the left side. What it did is it brought up all of my commercial art kits, which by the way are in alphabetical order, and it landed on Flower Garden in red because that is the parent art kit. So now I'm down to 80 pieces. If this had papers, there would be a tab right here with papers. So all content will be the same number as just embellishments because this is simply an embellishment package. So I can click on the first piece and I'm going to scroll down. There's leaves at the end. So I'm not going to tag these right now. I'm going to hold the shift key and I'm highlighting the last piece. Now, this isn't always going to be the way to do it, but this particular art package, everything is red, everything is a flower. So that's why I'm highlighting a bunch of them at once. Whenever you can do that, that's going to save you time. So I'm going to go over here to the right side. These are available tags, things that I've already created. If I had a tag that I wanted to go to, I would just go down. It's in alphabetical order as well. And I would click on the boxes. So if I clicked on that, you're going to notice now I have that particular tag. I'm going to click on the red X and I'm going to get rid of that because I really don't want, they're not abstract. So that's a quick and easy way to remove a tag from a specific thing. What I want to do is create a tag. So I'm going to type the word red because everything is red, right? So I'm going to click plus. Now, you might not look for flowers under red. You would probably look at them under flowers, right? That makes more sense. So I'm going to type flowers, click plus. Now every single one of these has two tags attached to it, flowers and red. So I have two ways that I can look for them. Here I've got these. I'm going to do the same thing, hold the shift key, click on the last one, and I'm going to say leaves. Notice these are all single words. So I'm not going to get into phrases just yet. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to minimize my commercial art kits. Now you can see my tags again. Now remember, I typed flowers. I entered flowers. So here's flowers. So if I click on flowers, remember there was 80 pieces in there. Some of them were leaves, but 75 of them I labeled flowers. So when I'm on a page and I'm looking for flowers, I would go to the tag flowers and look for them. But if I wanted to, I could also go under red. So under red, I also have 75 things. Now, I don't particularly like the word red. I would probably do it differently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down arrow right here. I can rename it if I want. Deselecting it just means that I'm not clicked on red anymore. But in this instance, I'm going to delete it. So nothing is set in stone. Notice these did not disappear. If I click on one of these, now it only has one tag because red disappeared. I deleted it. It's no longer in existence, right? So you can very easily go in and rename things if you want, which is very, very helpful because like I said, nothing is set in stone. You can keep editing things as you go along because sometimes I'll use a word one time and then I come back, look for it, and I can't remember the word I used. So then I realize at that point, I need to change the name because I'm thinking a different way when I'm looking for it. So rename things as necessary. Delete them if you need to. On the note of deleting, if you go back to the original program, I think it was gray. Let me look. Yes. If you bought Artisan and just Artisan, you probably will not run into this. If you go back to Storybook Creator when it was first created, they automatically tag things. They're all one-word tags. And it was very frustrating because if I look at this one, I'm going to zoom in, that does not scream gray to me. And that was part of the problem. This probably was listed under orange once because it has the orange, probably blue because it has blue, it has yellow, and white. It's going to probably have been tagged white. But I still have it. I haven't cleaned it up yet. This grommet right here is why that is listed under gray. Now, I'm not going to look for this tag under gray. It needs to be really gray for me to look for it here. So if you find you have that, go through systematically. You can just delete the whole tag if you want to and start from scratch if you want. By the way, this is another example. This is all gray, but I'm not going to look for wording under gray. It's just not the way I think. So you can go through and systematically just delete these things if you want to. Or what I've been doing is I'm slowly going through and I labeled that as tags, titles, flourish because of that little squirrely thing right there under date. But honestly, I don't think I would look for that under flourish. And I'm not going to look for it under gray. It did not disappear. Just FYI, I want to point that out because it's very, very helpful. If I'm not done with that particular piece, I don't want it to disappear. So that's really, really helpful that it didn't disappear. So if I clicked on green and came back to gray, it would be disappearing. It would have disappeared. You only have 2 here. I can click refresh and now I'm down to 2. So that's very, very helpful. It allows you to continue to do whatever you want with that specific piece until you're completely done. That way it doesn't disappear and you have to go look for it. So that's very helpful. So be aware that you have a refresh button. That's something I think is new as well. Okay, so how about we go a little bit deeper? If this works for you, this is sufficient. You can stop right here. But if you notice on mine, I have all kinds of tags just for colors. I have phrases. I'm going to show you first how it doesn't work because once in a while these things happen. So I'm going to click on this. Notice I've got a bunch here, but I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to create a phrase. I'm just going to use my name, Karen Watson. And I'm going to click the plus sign and show you what happens. If you do a bunch of words, what's going to happen is those words are all individually going to be created as tags. I wanted that to be a phrase. I didn't want that to be Karen as a tag and Watson as a tag. So if that happens to you, I just want you to be aware of why. You can go into the tag if you want. Here's my Karen tag, has one item in it. I can rename it. I'll use my maiden name. Okay. If you want a piece to have a phrase attached to it, you need to have that phrase inside of quotation marks. So if I do quotation mark, Karen, Watson, and then end with a quotation mark, then the plus sign, now I have a complete phrase. All right. So I wanted to show you that so you don't freak out if suddenly everything is coming out as individual things. You can always fix it. There's a variety of ways of doing it. So let me tell you about my thinking. Because everything is in alphabetical order, I don't want to be looking at my tags at the top for black and at the very, very end for white or yellow. I wanted all of my colors together. So that way, when I look for something under white, all of these things have predominantly white as part of them. Now, granted, there's a little bit of yellow in how that looks, but it's more shading than it is yellow. I wouldn't look for that particular one under yellow. But, you know, I've got a rabbit, I've got gloves, I've got feathers and frames and words and alpha set. And this is an alpha set that has the individual pieces. Sometimes all the alpha sets you have to go under the alpha set. Sometimes they're just under embellishments, usually both. But you see, there's all kinds of stuff just white, okay? That is embellishments. Now, paper, I have less so, but again, it's predominantly white. And this you might look at and put it under gold. In fact, if you look over here on the right-hand side, I have it under color white and color metallic gold. So if I'm looking for something that has metallic gold in it, I'd find that under that. If I'm looking for something that's predominantly white, I'd find it under white. And different textures like this one, because I put this in parentheses, patterns are at the very, very top. Anything with a symbol is way at the top. So this is something that I picked up from someone else. So if I'm looking for a specific style of paper, wood is a good example. So I have an alpha set that's wood, I have embellishments that's wood, and I have papers that's wood. And these are all different kinds of colors. This has flowers on it. This is purple. This is yellow. This is kind of a turquoisey blue, rose gold, red, you name it. But all of these have in common that they have a wood texture to it. So patterns is something that somebody else came up with as an idea. I liked it and ran with it. If I have something that's specific to a year, like 2021 Croptoberfest, the theme had sunflowers, and I don't have a lot of sunflowers, but I didn't want to plow through all of my flowers because pretty much every package has a ribbon or flowers in it, no matter what the theme is. And I wanted these to stand out. So these are temporary. So these are things, if I know I'm specifically for that year looking for a certain thing, I can use this until I've got the book printed, then I can delete this tag because this is just temporary. So another thing, Heritage was a good one because I bought tons and tons and tons of stuff for Heritage. 2,790 embellishments. That is a lot to go through. I did the same thing with house, with clothing. To me, groom was a good overall word for anything to do with hair, makeup, nails, things like that. But I just start breaking down a tag based on individual things. So, you know, kitchen, that was another one. So I've got a catch-all kitchen, anything to do with alcohol, you know, wine glasses, champagne, aprons and hats. I started realizing I had a number of aprons, or I'm looking specifically for aprons. I have coffee separated from other beverages. I've got tea on its own, timers, utensils. So again, some things are very, very general, like label, lace. Some things I broke down. Again, I'm showing you how I think, how I think is not necessarily the way you will think. Nature was another general term I came up with. So instead of just having flowers under F, it's under nature and then flowers. I seem to always be looking for hydrangeas. I'm always looking for roses. This is my catch-all flowers. I started having trouble finding baby's breath lost in the weeds, so I made one for that. I realized there's a lot of times I'm looking for a specific style. So these tend to be more of a watercolor look. There's even words there compared to, I call this material. So this is more ribbons making up a flower. So if I'm looking for like silk flower type things, sometimes it's material, sometimes it's, I don't know, that's not necessarily material, but it just kind of went there. I've got bling in some of them. I've got things that look like they've been drawn. So you can see there's flowers here and here. So hopefully that gives you, it just kind of whets your appetite for things. Now, sometimes there's something you don't really like, you'll probably never use, but it doesn't mean the whole package you don't want to use. But you want to get rid of it. You don't want something that's going to go under not tagged. Somebody had the idea of no tag. So that puts it somewhere. Office, that's another one that I broke out quite a bit. What else? Decades. The color is really, really helpful. Now let's talk about cross-referencing. So I tag things as many times as I can. How I might look for it a variety of ways. Let me go back into my book. So I'm going to go under content. Let's look up paper. Now I'm in a specific art package, so I'm going to close that. I'm going to go to my tags. And I want something with wood. I clicked on that once. And then I'm going to go to colors and let's say blue. Let's say I want to cross-reference this with blue. Don't click on it because what's going to happen is you're now saying I just want blue, but I still want wood to be my first item. There's a drop-down menu. What I could do is I can add to the current selection. What that's going to do is going to take all of my wood tag items and add the blue items to it. That's not what I want. What I want to do is I want to restrict. I want to narrow it down. What I want is just pattern paper that looks like wood that's blue. So I'm going to click on that. I have two. So see, there's so much less to have to plow through. I can say I want that one and I'll just go ahead and make the background. There we go. No, maybe I want this one. I'll make that the background. Which one goes better? I think I like the first one. We'll go with that. So cross-referencing can be very, very helpful. You saw that I had flowers. So if I were to go to nature and I'm going to go to flowers, I have quite a few in here. See, that gets to be a lot to look through. But if I narrow it down to just a color, maybe I'm trying to narrow it down to the blue flowers. So I'm going to restrict my nature flowers to my blue tagged nature flowers. So I'm going to restrict that, and that just narrowed that down. And I still have different styles. Some things look more realistic, some things are drawn, some things are more of the epoxy type texture or watercolor, but they're all flowers and they're all blue. So this is how I use my tags. If that is too much for you, stick with just the one word tags and work on that for a while. See how it works for you. If you want to go in deeper, come back to this video and look at this last part. Don't overwhelm yourself. Keep it as simple as possible to start off because you're probably going to be editing as you go. Again, work in your book, work in your projects, and figure out if the way that you're wording things works for you. If you want to change the words, edit it. If you want to change something to a phrase, you can do that. If you want to delete something altogether, that's possible. I've shown you how to do all of that. Play with it, work on it, chip away at it if you've got a lot to tag, and good luck with it. Let me know if you have any questions. And honestly, I think you're going to really, really be happy at the end. It's going to make it so much easier to find what you want to find when you need it. All righty. Thank you so much for sticking with me and watching this to the end. I appreciate it. Anything I can do to help, let me know.